Okay, so let's talk about this whole thing that's stirring up the internet. Basically, a journalist, his name is, let me get it right, Andy Robinson, and he works over at VGC. He is actually the owner editor over there. He used to work at Playtonic. He worked on Ukulele. He knows his stuff. Basically, he responded to an article saying that there is a possibility that Xbox could be sold off if the Activision Blizzard merger falls apart. Let's dive first into the VGC story. We're going to take Andy's thing with a grain of salt, but let's have fun, talk about this, and go over it all right now. So first thing is first. Basically, there was this VGC article that came out and it says Phil Spencer says Xbox will exist even if its proposed Activision Blizzard acquisition is blocked. According to Spencer, the deal is not some linchpin to the long term. Now, this actually comes away from the Times. Let's read what the quotes say specifically. The Times asked Spencer what would happen to Xbox should such an important acquisition be blocked by regulators, to which he responded that the gaming business was not dependent on its completion. This is an important acquisition for us. It's not some linchpin to the long term. Xbox will exist if the deal doesn't go through, he said. Now, the people are latching onto that online because he said it will exist. It's sort of a strange phrasing for the answer to the question, right? Like, he should just say Xbox isn't going anywhere, or I think it could have been phrased better, but Phil Spencer sort of talks off the cuff and very personal when he does these interviews. So maybe people are jumping the gun on this one. So I'm just going to go right on over to what Andy Robinson said, because basically he had some thoughts about this and it stirred up a little bit of controversy. He said, regardless of Spencer's words, I know a lot of industry pundits who think Microsoft selling off Xbox is a genuine possibility should this be blocked. I still expect it to go through with concessions. Tom Warren says, not sure who these industry pundits are, but they're clearly clueless. You don't strategically acquire Mojang and Bethesda and form a Microsoft gaming division if you're going to sell off the Xbox business if your giant $69 billion deal doesn't go through. Andy replies, capitalism has proven time and time again that conventional logic really doesn't matter much if the graph doesn't point up enough. I don't expect it to happen, but I can say with authority that some important people do. Now, Andy isn't one who's known to mess around. He doesn't really just say things that unless he's heard something. So I do believe him that he has heard this. But I agree with the reaction everybody else has had. I think it's very unlikely when you have Satya Nadella, going all in on gaming with all these interesting statements. And there have been obviously some big reactions to this story. Before we get to that, though, if you've watched this far, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. We're at 99,138 last time I looked. So we are very close to hitting 100,000 subscribers on this channel. So if you like what I do and you're not subscribed, half of you aren't, hit that subscribe button. Literally, we're going to hit it any day now. So let's get there together. So anyway, a lot of big reactions to this. Hogue Law, he's been tweeting a little bit more. He said the following about the article, not Andy Robson's post. He said, he is right. But what's more interesting is that it would be easier to tell the CMA that Xbox disappears if regulators block. That this exertion of regulatory power would itself destroy the market. Saying the opposite is once again the high road being taken by Xbox P3 and Microsoft. Now let's think about that a little bit. Man, it's so nice. Just anything Hogue says, I was just so glad to see him, tweeting something again. And it's nice to hear from him because the way he phrases things makes me think more about what he's saying there. And imagine Xbox had gone and they're like, look, if you block this deal, Xbox will no longer be a thing. Xbox will go away. And then you're going to have to deal with Sony anyway. Because inversely right now, what's being said is PlayStation said, well, if you let this deal go through, we're done for, which is categorically untrue. And the CMA even said as much. They're like, you're clearly hamming up the importance of Call of Duty in your catalog. And that's not true. It's just not an accurate statement. But bringing it back to what Andy said, what if it were true? What if Xbox were to be sold off? And he said, capitalism has proven time and time again that conventional logic doesn't really matter much if the graph doesn't point up enough. So we know that Xbox at one point was basically ready to be shut down. And then Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer talked, and they ended up keeping it going. This conversation has stirred up, obviously, a lot of thoughts about that. Phil Spencer has also said a few statements back in 2022. Look at this one. Phil Spencer says the Xbox business will become untenable if it remains irrelevant on mobile. The Xbox boss claims the Activision Blizzard deal is primarily about Candy Crush, not COD. Let's find his full statement. That's just a place where if we don't gain relevancy as a gaming brand, we're not alone in seeing this. Over time, the business will become kind of untenable for any of us. He means any company. If we're not able to find customers on phones or any screen that someone wants to play on, you really are going to get segmented to a niche part of gaming that running on a global business will become very challenging. Microsoft is all about, running at this level of being a big company and being number one. So if this deal does get blocked, maybe they do decide to sell it off. And before I dive in, don't give Andy any crap. Like, everybody's been dogpiling on him. He gets it. He locked his account at one point. So I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to have a little bit of fun with the thought process. Okay, let's run it down. Let's try and support this idea before we just write it off as crazy, right? And let's look at where Microsoft sits in terms of revenue. So this is a business quant, and you can see it's not in order, but we'll go over it. So we got 31% for server products and cloud services, not really related to gaming. We have 21% for Office products and cloud services. We have 12% for Windows, a huge market, and 10.5% for gaming. That is very, very strong. And devices are 4%. I don't know if that includes consoles, but that's fourth place in terms of what they're working on. Have they ever discontinued a product before that they put a lot of money into? Yes. Windows phones. In January 2019, Microsoft announced that Windows 10 Mobile would reach the end of life on December 10, 2019, after which no further security updates will be released, and online services tied to OS, such as device backup, have begun being phased out. Can you still use a Windows phone in 2022? Illumia with WP10 is still working well in 2022, provided that you use the phone just to make phone calls. So will Windows Phone stop working? End of support means experiences with Xbox-related features will have limited no functionality. In addition, earning achievements through Windows Phone devices will be turned off starting May 16, 2022. So they ended phone support. So it's not crazy to think that some people who Andy knows do believe this to be a reality. Now, I'm not stoking the fires here. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think Microsoft is going to shut down the Xbox brand. But is it really that crazy that some pundits, as Andy said, might think that? I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below. I think it's a really, really interesting topic, and everybody was dogpiling on Andy, but it kind of turned into a whole console war-y thing, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But I like thinking about this. I like thinking about what happens if the whole Activision deal falls apart. Well, Microsoft's going to lose $3 billion if they go to the next deadline. How are they going to feel about that? They've been tied up in legal stuff forever. But potentially they're not seeing the growth that they want to see with the Xbox division. And at some point, and I'm not saying in the immediate future, maybe they will spin it off. Let's read the rest of those quotes really quick. So they talked about the whole legal stuff also in that original article we were discussing. It was originally in the Times, which has a paywall, so I'm going via VGC. Competition is thus trying to get stronger, Spencer told the Times. I don't have great rationale for how better competition in consoles is somehow hurtful for consumers. He's addressing the fact that they have to go in front of regulatory bodies and explain this thing that just seems self-evident to most people. It's a strange position to be in, right? Because to me, having us, Sony and Nintendo, doing well in the console market, all of us with strengths and uniqueness in content and capabilities, gives consumers more choice. I'd hate to see more consoles go to where phones are, where there are only 2 manufacturers, and right now we have 3 good competitors. I'm sure there's more than 3 phone manufacturers, but he's saying there's 2 big ones, Apple and Google, I'm guessing, who are sort of dominating the market. And that's not really where we want to be in the gaming industry. We don't want one company setting the precedent for every price structure of gaming. We want people competing with each other, offering better services and pushing each other to be better. I love competition, and I love it for that reason. Most of the time in my career at Xbox, as I've met with government regulators, there's been a real lack of knowledge about the games industry, he said. I've appreciated spending time with them and in certain cases, helping to educate. I think for a lot of the regulators, this is the first time they've looked at this industry. And this happens at a time when they are actually, let me see if I can find the photo. So here, Sarah Bond is in London. They are currently meeting with the regulators, I would guess. Yeah, so here's her photo right here. One of those moments that makes this industry special. It was a real pleasure celebrating your success in the lovely company, Sarah Bond, and talking about Vampire Survivors. So, yeah, they are in not the US, and they are likely going to be speaking with the CMA in the coming days talking about the case. What do you think? So I've laid out the narrative, right? The narrative that's sort of being pushed by people who think that this is a reality. And I would love to hear from you. I can see how one would get there. Yes, Xbox is going to be spun off. But what we've been told by Phil Spencer, what we've been told by Satya Nadella is they're all in on gaming. They are not going anywhere. They're here to stay. Is there any truth to this other statement? I have to imagine some official person's going to come out before this video comes out probably and say something, but I want to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you're one of the 50% of people who aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, because I am very close to 100,000 subscribers, and you've already watched my content this far. You should subscribe so you know when the content hits, right? Thanks for watching. Thanks for helping me get there. Thank you to the members for supporting. I do have a few new members to add to the list. If you want to watch these videos with no ads, click that join button right down there. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see yesterday's video right here, or you know what, you can go check out that Avowed video I did where I sort of broke down what we know about the game and what you could expect from the game. Check that one out, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.